Dear Colorado, I spent the last 4 years saying that I hate you, thinking the 18 years we shared were just the first act, backstory, inciting incident kind of moments. Sometimes, Colorado, I wish I'd grown up somewhere else, somewhere less beautiful. I first think this when I'm 13 and my anime-obsessed middle school self saves enough money to go to Japan. I shoved myself in a too small bus with 40 other weirdos, the smell of middle school BO exacerbated by the July sun. We drive through the mountains, and the kids from Texas press themselves against the window, gasping at the seemingly eternal span of fir and pine, and I think, oh, it looks like Colorado. Colorado, I fear that I've spent so much time trying to pry my own anxious hands from my neck and believing that they were yours that I've forgotten about the moments when I didn't exist in the fog of my own mental illness. I'd forgotten about my grandpa driving me to the ice rink on Saturday mornings, paying $5 and watching me with his arms crossed from the stands, his transition glasses stuck somewhere between sunglass and the regular kind of glass. The moments driving on South Broadway Street, my friends and I praying we don't get into a car accident at the hands of my ill-skilled, only one with a license friend, whose knuckles are white as she clenches the wheel of her tiny box car. The times when I'm 16 and I sit in the front seat silently fuming as my friends roll a filterless joint before choir. Colorado, when Gabby calls me from Oregon and I tell her Casa Bonita is probably gonna close, we both laugh until I'm crying. Birthday dinner after birthday dinner play in my mind on an endless loop that gets progressively more distressing, and when I pull myself from the grief intrinsically intertwined with change, I fall even more in love with you, Colorado, because who the fuck thinks that a Mexican restaurant with cliff diving and rundown skee ball is a good idea? Colorado, I love you because you gave me Aunt Cindy. Her paint-by-number holiday crafts and ladybugs and fuzzy blankets and our early morning trips to McDonald's for breakfast. I love you because you gave me Gabby and over 10 years of sitting in the back row of a rundown youth theater during Tech Week, drinking Dr. Pepper and eating trolley eggs, the same back row where Gabby and I once sat in squirrel costumes, stifling our laughter when 12-year-old Willy Wonka trips in our final dress, and where our friendship sprouted. I'm sorry for distancing myself. I only now realize how much I miss you. I've allowed the years filled with yelling and mania and the nights I crawled into my bed at 4 a.m. steeping in the darkness, the loneliness that seems to come with 17 to dominate the whole picture. I'm so scared. What happens next, Colorado? Time keeps marching forward and I have no choice but to march with it. The ideas for future that I built when I lived in you seem almost laughable now. I'm starting to realize that everyone is just improvising and hoping that the decisions they make don't turn into mistakes, that no one is trying to be a bad person, at least I hope. And knowing this makes it easier to forgive, both others and myself. I thought that rejecting you, Colorado, would mean that I would transform into the ethereal, idealistic version of myself that I created as a coping mechanism and release the sheepish, anxious, depressed mess I was convinced was caused by you. Now, I think it's the opposite, that only by embracing you, both the light and dark, will I be able to transform, hopefully into a somewhat more peaceful version of myself. I think I'm almost there, Colorado. So I write to you now with what I hope is humility to ask for your forgiveness, to tell you there's never a day that goes by where I don't think of you. I love you, Colorado. I hope you still love me too.